Hello, my name is Glenn Grandy. I'm Executive Director of Fair Mining Collaborative. Welcome to First Rock, Mining Justice Basics, brought to you by Fair Mining Collaborative with the generous support of the Real Estate Foundation of British Columbia. Perpetual colonization, final agreements and treaties in British Columbia. Reference to the term colonization is usually in the past tense as something that stopped when Canada achieved confederation. But in reality, especially to many Aboriginal peoples, colonization is an ongoing thing. It runs concurrent on a daily basis with the unbalanced extraction of natural resources on traditional territories and the resulting destruction of the lands and waters on the traditional territories of First Peoples. Add to this the fact that the Crown has failed to strike treaties with most First Nations that overlap in BC, and we have a recipe for many of the problems that we face today. However, there are minor exceptions to this, such as the so-called Douglas Treaties of Vancouver Island. Shown here, these treaties are short and virtually identical in language, boilerplate treaties, if you will, signed between 1850 and 1852. They excluded many Aboriginal people, such as the Hulkaminam people of the Cowichan area, which is south-central Vancouver Island, who had their lands stolen in what they call the Great Land Grab. Two, in fact. One in 1860, when access to their most valuable lands along the east coast of the island, the Gulf Islands, was taken when settlers preempted 59,000 hectares, and the second in 1884, when the federal government handed over 268,000 hectares, or 80% of the territory, as payment for the building of the Esquimalt and Nanaimo, or E&N, railroad on Vancouver Island. That was land that the Crown was never entitled to give away in the first place, as the Hulkaminam people never surrendered or ceded their land. There are also the so-called final agreements, treaties or agreements struck under the BC Treaty process, a six-stage process with the final stage being ratification. It is important to check and know which, if any, treaties or final agreements or other contract your nation may be bound to operate under. To date, 4 BC First Nations have ratified and implemented final agreements. The Niska, Tsawwassen, Manalf, and Tla'amin First Nations. 2 other, the Yale and the Lahadli, at time of this presentation, are in the ratification process. A few others are at various stages. The process is extremely time-consuming and expensive. This Canadian government map shows all the First Nations involved in the BC Treaty process. And Treaty 8. Treaty 8 includes the West Moberly, Halfway River, Salto, Prophet River, Doig River, and Fort Nelson First Nations. Regardless of how we view or respect treaties, it is critical to remember that the spirit of an historic treaty is one of granting from Aboriginal peoples to settlers, not the other way around. However, sadly, despite decades, centuries really, of rhetoric to the contrary, and amid what is generally a lack of understanding and a lack of will, the same spirit and the intent of colonization and its mining agency in 1859 remains present today, 150 years on.